Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 71 of On the Road with AutoTrader, where we make car stuff simple for Canadians. My name is Jodi Lai, and I'm the Editor-in-Chief of AutoTrader.
And I am Dan Ilika, and I am AutoTrader's road test editor, still wearing the same outfit.
You really don't have many options. I guess you didn't get anything cool for Christmas.
Like I'm locked in the studio. You don't let me out. You just
we sleep here.
You show up with booster juice for me and let me know. We've got an episode today, Dan. And I wake up from under the table.
Today we're going to be talking about the AutoTrader Awards.
Oh, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal for us.
Most trusted, most comprehensive, most
influential,
most bestest.
Most bestest, foreverest. Forever and ever.
The best.
And we take this stuff so seriously. Yeah. Honestly, the awards are like the ultimate expression of kind of like our commitment to Canadian drivers and consumers. Because we know it's hard to buy a new car. There's so many great options out there.
Yeah, and this is like a big collaborative effort. We have more than 20 experts from across the country, names that you know, some that you might not, but you should. Journalists, people that we really respect, that we work with from, the West Coast, Brendan McAleer, from, Quebec, Vincent Aubé, from Ontario, Jill McIntosh, Matt Guy out in Nova Scotia, Evan Williams. We have like a whole roster of writers that we really appreciate the work that they do, and they know their stuff. And so every year, all of us vote, but it's very democratic. There's no, influencing. There's no like weighted. Jodi and I don't get extra votes. It's like it all counts for 1 point, the same as anyone else. And it's how this list ends up coming to you guys, the best vehicles in the country, which are chosen not from the newest. Jodi and I are very big on this because some other awards, whether it's in North America or not, only look at new. This is a very traditional approach to awards. They only look at new or what you'd consider like significantly renewed. So if it could be the same vehicle. A good example, a few years ago now, Nissan did nothing to the Rogue from the body, from tech inside, but put a new engine under the hood. That would count as new or significantly updated. But that to me is so bizarre because if I'm shopping for the best car, let's say I'm shopping for a 3-row SUV, I don't go, just tell me the three newest ones on the market, because if the best one came out 5 years ago and hasn't been changed since, it's still the best.
Yeah, so newest doesn't always mean best.
Exactly.
So that's why at the AutoTrader Awards, we look at every single vehicle that is available for Canadians to buy. Yes. That means we're looking at like 350 plus different models. Yeah. And we have something like 28 categories, which is crazy, but that's how committed we are.
I feel like you said something like knowing it's exactly 28 categories.
I think it's 28. Anyway. There's a lot.
There's a bonus category of most trusted brand.
Yeah, and that's actually one that we do not vote on.
So this is it's not weird. Like we just don't. So most trusted brand, that is something that is polling Canadian consumers. What do you, when you guys, listeners and viewers, readers on the web, when you look for a brand that you trust, which one stands out to you the most? So we have no pull in that one. That's news to us as well. So what we're talking about today is the 28 categories of vehicles, which we do vote on. But again, there's no thumb on the scale because sometimes, I don't know about this year, but in past years, there's been ones that I'm like, what?
Yeah, but that's how it works, right? Sometimes I don't always agree with what is voted as the best, but that's what our experts believe. And this is a democracy, so this is how it works. So when I'm instructing our experts on what to vote for, I'm really telling them to look for cars that they think raise the bar, because we're looking for ones that have they're so good that it raises that benchmark for everyone else.
You always say a vehicle that you would buy or recommend to a friend or family member.
Yeah, because if it was all we're all car and driving enthusiasts, every vehicle winning would be a Porsche 911 if it was left to us, right?
Well, if it was left to you.
Well, yes, I'm a 911 stan for sure. But I really like this method because it makes sure that the cars that are winning are actually relevant to real people, right?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of crazy if like a supercar wins. We don't look at supercars because it's not relevant to most people.
Yeah, it's really like for me. I mean, okay, I've said it before on past, and I mean, I'm fairly confident it didn't win. Not that I haven't looked at the winners, but the Toyota Crown Signia. Said it before. I'll say it again. I think if you had a budget of up to $100,000 and needed a vehicle that had room for 4 or 5 people and whatever, that's the best one you can buy in Canada. It's not fun. It's not exciting. It's just like really well-rounded. It's efficient. It's spacious. It's practical. It's a Toyota hybrid, so it's probably going to be super reliable. Mm-hmm. So I look at all of those factors, right? It's not me going, oh man, I really like you love, and this isn't I'm not taking a shot at you. You love the Integra Type S. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it's fun. Yeah, it's spacious, but it's really prioritizing fun.
Yeah.
This to me is like the Crown Signia is prioritizing everything but fun.
It's just so well-rounded. And I think that says a lot too, right? So when we're voting on winning cars, we're looking at like, a car is a whole package.
Yeah.
What does it do better than all of its competitors? Yeah. We're looking for cars that don't really have any big red flags. Like if there's a massive problem with it, I wouldn't recommend it for that reason, right? Yeah. So we're looking at like, there's something like 12 different categories that we look at that range from like efficiency, performance, practicality, user-friendliness, all of those things. Value is a really big one that we consider.
And of course, guys, keep in mind, like, even though they're not like weighted, none of these categories are weighted in a way that we go, oh, prioritize this, prioritize that. But for each contributor, Jodi and I included, right? When you look at a category, of course, you're going to go, oh, well, in performance, right? It's like you're going to really be looking at the performance. You're going to be looking at the powertrain. Those you're going to sort of prioritize versus in a 3-row SUV, maybe value because you're going, well, from a family, like sure, there are these great ones, but this is like a little bit too expensive. But I've always said like it's not the biggest 3-row SUV, but the Subaru Ascent. Now the facelift has made it hideous, but the Subaru Ascent, I always thought was really good because it delivers huge value. And that, to me, often matters to families more than just the biggest vehicle.
Yeah, that's very true.
So, it depends. So how you as an individual expert, approach these awards in your voting, that's what makes them so, A, democratic, but B, accurate because like we're all different people. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different family situations or whatever. And that ends up being factored in without it being like, hey, Peter Bleakney, pick the best, like Peter, for example, is an incredibly talented musician. If Peter was picking vehicles, every one of them would have room for his stand-up bass.
Right.
But that's not realistic, and Peter knows that, so that's why he is one vote amongst more than 20 in total.
Yep, that's very true. And when I think of performance, a lot of the times people are thinking about like 0 to 100 numbers. I'm thinking about how good is a vehicle at doing what it's intended to do.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a really big one because I'm not going to penalize a sports car because it's massively inefficient. That's not what it's for, right? In the same way, I wouldn't penalize a hybrid for being boring to drive. Like, it doesn't matter, right?
Exactly. Everything, it's just like with the reviews we do, right? With all the different, there's 10 kind of sections in each review: power, fuel economy, practicality, user-friendliness. Of course, same rule applies. You're not looking at the industry as a whole because, of course, if you were looking at the market and going, oh, well, this SUV only makes 280 horsepower, and I can buy a 600 horsepower sedan, but it's like, but those aren't competitors.
Yeah.
So you look at the segment for what it is. You look at this vehicle as it relates to its competitors, not the overall landscape. And that's very much the case with these awards, and each category, it's reflected in that.
Yeah. And I always bring this up because people always kind of roast me on it. It's like when I drove the Mitsubishi Mirage, I gave it an 8 out of 10 for performance. I also gave, I don't know, let's say like a BMW X3, 8 out of 10 out of performance. That doesn't mean that they're on equal footing. It just means that it does what it's meant to do really, really well. Yeah. That's it. And again, there's like 28 different categories. We're not going to go through all of them. If you want to know more information, visit autotrader.ca/awards. We have articles up on there for every single category winner. We have information on our jury. We have information about what we're voting for, what makes a winning car. All of that stuff is there for you. But what categories do you want to know about? Because you haven't even seen the results yet.
I mean, I think we should kick off with truck because they matter so much to Canadians, right?
Okay.
Like that's just
So we have 3 truck categories.
Yeah.
Best full-size truck, best compact/mid-size truck, and then best overall truck, which is like a combination of the both.
I mean, full size, it's got to be an F-150, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, the F-150 wins every single year for best full-size truck, with the exception of one year where I think the Ram 1500 won.
All right.
But it's been a few years in a row that the F-150 has won this award, which makes a lot of sense to me because it's a great truck.
Yeah.
Also, the lineup is great. The fact that you can get a hybrid and an EV is really nice.
Diverse powertrains matter.
It does.
Who's going to build the first plug-in hybrid pickup truck?
Isn't the Ram Rev a plug-in hybrid?
It's a range extender, so it's kind of. So it's not a plug-in hybrid that you like, you know, you plug in, you drain the battery, the engine. It's more like the Chevrolet Volt.
Right.
Remember back in the day? So the gas engine is a generator.
It's a generator instead of a drive.
Yeah. So it's not a plug-in hybrid, but I'm looking at it like, look, part of the zero emissions targets for North America in general, you will have like if a plug-in hybrid can travel 75 kilometers without burning any gas, then that would still be able to be sold beyond the 2035 mandate. So when's Ford going to take the plug-in technology that it uses in the Escape and toss it in or even like we just did the episode about vehicle names and how it's dumb because you can't remember which one is which and how's it, but it's like the Lincoln, I think it's the Aviator. There was plug-in hybrid.
Oh, the Grand Touring one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like that to me would work in an F-150 application.
Yeah. But excuse me, but their hybrid is already so good, right? So would a PHEV version really make it that much better?
Oh, it would.
Cool. I'm into it. And then the winner for the best compact/mid-size truck is the Ford Maverick, which also comes as a hybrid. And this year, you can get the hybrid with all-wheel drive, which you could not do last year.
Yeah, I remember when I first drove the Maverick, and I reached out to a Ford spokesperson, and I was like, "Hey, what's this all about?" And I'll never forget his response is, "There's nothing from an engineering perspective that would stop us from making a hybrid with all-wheel drive." And I went, "Well, then you should make it." I understand, Ford. This was probably a long game, right? It was probably like sell it as front wheel drive, get it out there, and then it perpetuates demand. Because the people that held out, there were the ones that were like early adopters, so to speak. They went, I love the Maverick and I'm going to buy it no matter what. And then once that shine sort of wears off, you introduce some kind of like game changer, which is adding all-wheel drive. And then people that waited went, okay, I can get behind this now.
And it's just such a good truck, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's perfectly sized.
It's so spacious inside.
It is so practical, so roomy, very clever, very user-friendly.
Yeah.
And it's still quite affordable, which is nice because a lot of F-150s are not affordable these days.
Oh, my God. And I just did that review a couple months ago. It was like, so for a long time, the F-150 lineup starts with the XL, and then next in line was the XLT. This year, or last year, 2024, Ford introduced the STX, which used to be an appearance package, but Ford made it a standalone trim. No heated seats, not even available. So that means
and how much is that truck?
Oh, it starts at like 65 grand or something like that.
That's unacceptable.
And it's like, yeah.
For a Canadian audience, not to have heated seats is bonkers to me.
It blows my mind. And so this is like that answer to that affordability. Like the Ranger is good too. I really like the new Ranger is good.
The new Ranger is actually really good.
But the Maverick is just so great.
I think the Maverick to me is a better truck for more people because it's more affordable and it can do everything that most people need. without the inefficiency of like a larger, more expensive truck, right?
I really wish I knew why the addiction to half-ton trucks in North America is so beyond me, because they just they don't make sense for most people who use them. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to generalize. And the F-150 is a very good truck, but it's how many times do you see them used as family haulers when you're listen, an SUV, a minivan, anything else would make more sense than you driving around with this, empty bed, just sucking back fuel for the sake of it.
With no trailer hooked up to the back, nothing.
And when you see a truck that doesn't even have a hitch, you're like, man, you're not even trying to pretend hey, I have a boat on the back on the weekends.
I think trucks were really starting to get sold as leisure vehicles or status symbol type vehicles. And so people just like them because they're big and bad, not because they're useful.
Yeah. But I would much rather, if I were to do it, the Maverick would be the one for me, because it's it makes sense. It's maneuverable, manageable, easy to park, indoor, outdoor, whatever you want to do with it. It does a lot of the same stuff that an F-150 does, just in a way more useful and affordable package.
And that's why I really love that the Ford Maverick was voted as the best overall truck.
That's amazing.
I think that is so great that our experts are thinking about this in terms of which truck is better for more people, rather than the F-150 is such an easy choice. Everyone's it's the best truck. Obviously, it'll win. But I'm really happy that our experts voted for the Maverick. It makes so much sense, right?
What about minivan? Can we do minivan?
Oh, you love a minivan.
I love a minivan. I'm curious.
Okay, so the winner of the best minivan is the Toyota Sienna.
Go figure.
It's obviously a repeat win for them. It's a great minivan.
Yeah. It was, however subtly, it was updated for 2025. Some styling tweaks. Something that is now available that you went, hey, what the heck? Was, remember when the Sienna was announced, Toyota was oh, you can get it with a fridge. And then we went to Toyota's head office, and it was you went there for a walk around, a little preview thing, and I just so happened to be doing a vehicle swap that day. So we both went and looked, and the fridge was in the back of that Sienna prototype that Toyota Canada had. And then when it went on sale, there was no fridge. And you were like, what? Where's the fridge?
That was one of my favorite features.
Yeah, and it was part of the pandemic-related, supply constraints. Toyota had to get rid of the fridge.
And the vacuum, I think.
Yeah, but now with this 2025 refresh, boom, you can get a fridge.
And I think it's great. I think it's big enough to fit a liter of ice cream or a 4-pack of soda or beer or whatever.
Soda.
Pop.
I'm just thinking beer.
Yeah, or beer.
Remember that time you and I went to Hamilton and we went to Merritt and Fairweather Brewing in the Maybach?
Yep, I was your chauffeur for the day.
You were my chauffeur, and it has a wine fridge or champagne fridge in the back seats. It's optional.
That's the bougie version of
and I was oh, how many beers can I fit in here? And if you go to my story, so of course, guys, I know this goes without saying, but I'm still going to say it. This isn't Europe. I wasn't drinking in the back of the car. But I was well, I don't need to bring a cooler because I can just throw my beer in this fridge and keep it cold. And so you can go read my story on the AutoTrader website, autotrader.ca/editorial. And there's a photo with a bunch of tall cans just shoehorned in that fridge.
And it fit quite a few of them too, right?
Yeah.
Great stuff. Really, I love a Maybach. A Maybach did not win an award this year because it is way out of reach for most people. I really, really wanted to talk about some of the green categories, especially best mainstream EV.
Okay.
Because I feel this is a category that gets bigger and bigger every single year.
Let's do it. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so the winner of this year's best mainstream EV is the Kia EV9.
Well deserved.
Which I think it 100% deserves because it was a game changer.
I said to you, and maybe, I don't know if I said it on the show last year or maybe it was just you and I, but because it came out so late in the year, I said to you, it would have won last year if more of our contributors had the opportunity to experience it.
And so now a year later, here we are, all of our contributors drove it and we're like super, super impressed.
Because I went on the first drive event. You drove it in California at Kia's like
it was a
proving
really
grounds.
early long lead though.
And then I drove it on the media program. That was in December.
Yeah.
I remember because I was down in Arizona for the Subaru Crosstrek Wilderness Drive and the EV9, and I stayed for the weekend and rented a mountain bike and like had a great little time. But that was like, the second week of December. So of course it was too late for our contributors to have voted. But I'm happy to see it, not for me or for like Kia, it's for people. Again, this is like for you guys. It doesn't matter to me personally what vehicles win, and I don't care if Kia is happy or sad or whatever. It's like I go, hey, what matters to Canadian families in the market for an EV? Something that's really good, like you said, that's a game changer, groundbreaking technology, does all the things you need it to.
Yep, has lots of range, is very cool looking, very stylish.
The EV9 is it.
And what is even more impressive to me about the EV9's win is that it won multiple categories in this year's awards. So it also won as best overall green vehicle.
Wow.
So that means it got more votes than any other hybrid or plug-in hybrid or EV in the entire awards. And that is a massive, massive accomplishment, but it gets even better. The EV9...
Wait, can we do it like an infomercial? But wait, there's more.
Call now and you'll get a Kia EV9, which also won Best Overall SUV.
That's big.
And that's massive because that means it's up against every other SUV, period, gas or EV.
Toyota RAV4, hybrid, plug-in hybrid.
Yep.
Chevy Suburban.
And so this is the first time that an EV has won this category. And I think that just shows you how impressive the EV9 really is. Right? Because in comparison to everything else that's out there, it stands that much higher.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean,
it's so good.
I'm excited about the Hyundai's version, which isn't really Hyundai's version, but the Ioniq 9, which was revealed at the LA Auto Show back in November of last year. It is the same architecture, which all of the Hyundai Group EVs are built on, like the new EVs are built on this eGMP architecture, but the Ioniq 9 uses a slightly bigger battery. And the nice thing is Hyundai and Kia have never gone the, Chevrolet and GMC route where they're just badge engineered. So it's like the same vehicle, just with a different badge and a different name. Like the EV9 and the Ioniq 9 look nothing alike. They are really their own vehicles. But I think there is the potential for the Ioniq 9 to do next year what the EV9 is doing this year.
I think
by cleaning up with these awards.
Yeah, because it has the advantage of being slightly later to market, which means you can have more updated tech, right?
Bigger battery, slightly more range. So we haven't driven it yet, but I was in LA to see it and poke around and sit in it and chatted with the head of the Hyundai Design Center, Simon Losby, who's a really cool guy, really passionate about design and got some insights. I wrote a cool story that you guys, same thing, you can find it on autotrader.ca/editorial about why the Ioniq 9 looks the way it does, from the pixels to the boat tail and what all, kind of went into it. And he also told this crazy story that I was like blown away, that his dad was the chief engineer for Aston Martin back in the 70s. And in 1977, I think it was, they brought it to LA. There used to be like the LA Auto Show and the LA like Motor Expo. And the Motor Expo was for like the import cars. And his dad was on stage in 1977 to show off the Lagonda, which was a quirky looking car. And then fast forward all those years later, and Simon Losby gets on stage to present it to us on Media Day, which I thought, what a special experience.
What
now
a
his
full
dad,
circle moment.
Yeah, now his dad unfortunately died, I guess not last year, the year before that. But, just a amazing story.
He'd be so proud to see that, right?
And so anyways, you guys really should go read that story, not just because I wrote it, but because it's actually quite fascinating. But it will also give you a little bit of a preview and some insight into why I think the potential for it is so high. So, but congrats to Kia and congrats to anyone who has already bought or has their name down on
because you made a smart decision.
Yeah, and the 2025, the refreshed EV9, there's a GT version, like a performance version.
Right.
That's pretty crazy with the interior. It's the sport seats it has, and the Ioniq 9, and I think the EV9 2025, you can get the NACS port, the Tesla style.
That would mean they're the first to implement that in a new vehicle.
Yeah, the Ioniq 9,
another way they're being a game changer, right?
Crazy.
I love that. I think they really deserved all of those wins.
That means that you can take those things to like the Tesla superchargers. You don't need an adapter. You just plug it right in, and you can take advantage of that great charging network. I
love that because it also, you don't have to like take a credit card out. It's just connected to your account and it does it all automatically. That's the kind of convenience we need more of in the EV space. Let's talk about crossovers. I feel best subcompact SUV.
Ooh, my personal choice would be a Subaru Crosstrek first.
It won.
Yeah?
Yep, it won again this year. I think this is the third year in a row that it's won this category.
Guys, it is so good. This isn't like me being, Captain Subaru over here. It's just really good. Again, when you just look at the market, it is slightly bigger than most of its competitors. It's got full-time all-wheel drive, but it manages to be fairly efficient. It really does need a hybrid. This is something that Subaru is way, way, way behind on. The Forester this year is going to be the first hybrid it's going to lean on. So Toyota owns, 17%, some weird number of Subaru. So there is some, shared technology. It's not just when they developed the BRZ and what's now the GR86 together, as well as the Solterra and BZ4X. But, there's that opportunity to tap Toyota and say, hey, can we get some of that hybrid tech? So it happened with the Crosstrek hybrid back in 2019, which was a plug-in hybrid version of the Crosstrek that used Toyota technology. The 2025 Forester hybrid will also use RAV4 hybrid technology. But aside from the fact that hasn't trickled down to the Crosstrek yet and it desperately needs it, the fact that the Crosstrek is so efficient, and it's one of the only crossovers in the segment to have full-time all-wheel drive.
Yep.
So most use like slip and grip, right? So operate in front-wheel drive until slip is detected, and then it'll kick in with traction to the rear wheels. The Crosstrek all the time is sending torque to all four wheels. So I use it's black magic. Like it's weird. It is
weirdly efficient. And I really love the Crosstrek also because now it comes with the wilderness model. So if you needed a bit more capability, you can get that. But I like that this one because it's not like the sexiest option. It's just really, really good. Yeah. Very practical and affordable.
I honestly, if I had to guess, like I would have thought the Hyundai Kona would have won this category, which is also really good, but it's new, it's bigger. And I was like, because when I drove it, I was like, this thing could give the Crosstrek. They're very different personality-wise, but give the Crosstrek a run for its money. But still, when you drive the Crosstrek, you're like, it's spacious, it's safe, it's efficient, it's got that four-wheel traction. There's just a lot going for it. So that's well-deserved.
Love that. And also, in a similar vein, the best compact SUV, the Subaru Outback won again this year. Again, a 3-time win for that vehicle.
Great choice. That is one of those, this is like our experts shouting from the rooftops, hey guys, like wagons are still where it's at. I'm telling you right now, like I used to drive an Outback. My parents drive an Outback. They're so good. Because footprint-wise, it's not much bigger than, it's very similar in size to the Forester, right? It's just packaged differently. But it gives it very car-like manners with the capability and the practicality that you would want in a crossover. It's like that, it's the smart choice, right? It's like, there's a reason you see, like doctors and professors and like.
It just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's also like not super tall off the ground, so you can reach stuff on your roof rack without getting a ladder, right? Like
but it still has 220 millimeters of ground clearance, which is huge. Like that is so beneficial especially in Canada with all the snow and inclement weather we have. Sammy Hajisad, one of our friends and contributors, whose wife is a doctor, they are on their second Outback because they love them so much.
Yep, and they just had a kid, right? And so it's a great family vehicle. It's like one of those things that is just perfectly sized for what you need and nothing more and nothing less.
Yes,
it's just a really smart, practical vehicle. I love it.
Should we do like one more before...
We don't have an Ask an Expert this episode, so we could do a couple more if you want.
Well, okay. Let's talk about let's look at some expensive stuff, some of the premium stuff.
Okay. Best premium performance car.
I mean,
okay, so this year the Porsche 911 won, which is obvious. But last 2 years it was the Cadillac CT5V Blackwing, which was amazing.
And also, guys, in fairness, like, yes, I know the 911 is one of those cars that, like, unless you're like a real, Porsche-phile, like Barish could tell the difference. Like so AutoTrader's VP of Insights and Intelligence, Barish Acurek, he loves Porsches. So he's one of those guys, he could look at the taillights and be like, oh, that's a 992 point, whatever. I'm not one of those people, but this year, the cool thing about the 911, there are some major changes. One of them being this new hybrid, which is like a turbo hybrid. It's a game-changing technology that's going to extend the life of internal combustion power in the 911.
And I think as driving enthusiasts and car enthusiasts, that is something that we should all be thankful for.
Yeah.
Especially because like hybrids have that reputation of being like, oh, boring and slow, but like
I
here's
like the voice
Porsche.
You put on, like a real Poindexter.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like nerdy and granola. But like it's amazing that Porsche is using this to benefit performance.
Yeah.
With efficiency as like a side quest, but not the main goal, right?
Now, can I ask an expert something?
Sure.
What's so nerdy about granola?
I'm just saying that like traditional car enthusiasts really stick their nose up at hybrids.
I thought maybe this was like a little hangover, the Subaru chat. All that Subaru chat made you think of granola.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Subaru drivers do really like granola and Birkenstocks.
And hiking boots.
Yeah.
There's just like that's one of those things, like the stereotype is pretty real. Like when you look at the average Subaru owner, right? They buy the right tool for the job.
Because it's smart.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I like camping. I like throwing a kayak on the roof and going out on the weekends.
When I was in Portland, which is a notoriously outdoorsy place, so many Subarus.
Yeah. The Northwest and the Northeast in the U.S. And a lot of people don't know this. So Subaru it's very interesting the way that the business model was set up. And so in Canada as well as the US, they were importers. They weren't like owned by Subaru Corporation. So Subaru Canada used to be a distributor that would import the cars and then resell them. And then Subaru in Japan ended up taking over. But in the US, Subaru of New England is still to this day an independent distributor.
Oh, interesting.
But sells like a huge, I couldn't tell you the exact share, but it's like half of Subaru of America's volume.
That actually makes so much sense.
Because that is the perfect vehicle for that region.
Yep.
Right?
Because everybody is a mountain biker, hiker,
and it snows
kayaker.
and it's miserable in the wintertime. And it's like, well, this thing just makes a whole lot of sense.
Good job, Subaru. I think it's also really impressive that those are both repeat wins for them. That just shows you how good they are because they haven't been changed very much in the last couple years, and they still managed to be ranked the best.
Okay, now we're just at the end. I will ask you your opinion on this because I think about this a lot, and I just did that Crown Signia review, and I went through the whole thing. It's not a wagon. I know people like Brendan McAleer, who we love. He thinks it's a wagon. I don't.
It's not a wagon.
My question is the Subaru Outback a wagon or a crossover?
So to me, I would consider that a wagon because it looks like a wagon, but Subaru does not call it a wagon.
No, it's a crossover.
Yeah, they call it a crossover.
But keep in mind, like it was the legacy wagon just lifted. That was the Outback. And then what about the Crosstrek?
That also strikes me as a wagon, but they don't call it a wagon because of the stigma.
But here's the thing. right? The Subaru Crosstrek, aside from the body cladding and whatever, it is dimensionally, it is a Subaru Impreza.
Yeah,
which
but it's
is
jacked up.
Compact car.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small hatchback. That Subaru just went, we're going to slap some body cladding on it, give it 220 mils of ground clearance, and call it a crossover. And it has become Subaru's best-selling model in Canada.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
It's crazy.
It's really good.
Yeah.
If you haven't hopped on the Subaru train yet, people, you should.
It's true.
I feel like it's not typically like the first choice for a lot of people, but like everybody who I know who has a Subaru loves it.
Yeah.
I recommend Subarus to my own friends all the time. A lot of my friends bought Crosstreks. A lot of my friends bought Imprezas because they're just like, I just want something all-wheel drive. What's the cheapest all-wheel drive? It's an Impreza.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
It's very impressive.
And on that note, since we don't have an Ask an Expert, if you have questions to ask Dan or I, you can email us at expert@trader.ca. But yeah, that wraps up this episode. Again, like, thank you so much to our jury for voting in these awards. It's super important. And if you would like more information on the awards, you can visit autotrader.ca/awards. Really comprehensive set of everything you need to know about the best cars to buy in 2025. And that wraps up this episode. So drive safe, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.